all you lovely Idahoans and some of you new Idahoans, ex-Californians. Wow, that was a terrible intro. Greg should not let me do this alone. This is the worst. I am Dustin Hurst. I am Freedom Bro number one. This is the 7th episode of Freedom Bros, and you'll notice that my trusted co-host Greg Pruitt is not here tonight. He is actually more of a family man than I am. He's doing a soccer tournament or something somewhere. I don't know, but he's a very good person, and my kids are suffering without daddy to tuck them in. So kudos to Greg for being there, supporting his kids. Tonight, last week, we brought you Steve Tanner, who is running for seat 13B in the Idaho House of Representatives. He's running in the Republican primary out there, and that's a district in Nampa, just a slice of Nampa. He told us why he wants to represent Nampa in the Idaho House, what he's interested in, what his policies are for. Now we get to hear from a competitor in that race, somebody who wants the same thing. Amy Henry is with us, and she's going to tell you who she is, why she's fit to serve, and what her ideas are when she gets to the House. This is episode 7 of Freedom Bros, and we'll be right back with Amy Henry. That is so extra. That is so beyond extra. Oh my goodness gracious. Amy Henry, it is so lovely to see you. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, Dustin. Thank you. It's good to be here.
So you are, this is going to be a heck of a chat because you and I have a long history in Idaho politics together. You've been just, when I think of Amy Henry, I was thinking about this on the way here preparing for the podcast, and the word is dynamo because like I'm a busy guy, right? Like I have a job, I have 3 kids, I do football, I do, weightlifting, all this stuff. I couldn't keep up with your schedule. Like you're always at the state house, you're at meetings all the time, you're just kicking butt, getting out there, doing people. First, I guess my first question is like, how do you do it? Are you on cocaine or something? Like, how do you show up at all the meetings and be at all the things?
Well, I guess that's just how God wired me. I don't know. I I think if I ever slow down, I'll just stop. I don't know. But I enjoy it. I love it. I love being around people. And I think I had a grandmother that was like that, and I was raised with her, and she just loved being around people and taught me that, and I always wanted to be like her, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And so I just love it. In fact, when the session ends, I'm a little homesick, kind of. Not that I don't love my family and love to be home and love to be with my husband and my kids. I do.
Sure.
But when March comes to an end, I go through some withdrawals. I get a little sad. So I just enjoy it.
I don't know, having done politics for 10 years here in Idaho and moved on, like I get what you're saying, but I also don't know how anybody is homesick for the capital after all the craziness ends. So, I mean, you're a better person than I am, I think. So let's dive right in. The point of Freedom Bros in large part is to help people understand their candidates, and you are a candidate for office. So just in the terms that you want to use, why are you running for political office? Why do you think that you're fit to serve? Tell us your background, who you are, where you're from. Let's just dive right into it.
Okay, so I guess let's start with my background. So I was born and raised in Boise, and I went to Cole Christian School and then Maranatha way back when it was Fairview and Cloverdale. And then I spent my last couple of years at Capitol High School because I was a basketball player and I wanted to play some good basketball. So I graduated from Capitol High School, ended up graduating from Northwest Nazarene University right here in Nampa with my degree in education, elementary education. I taught at Meridian Middle, coached basketball, and taught physical science. And then I moved over to Nampa, right here at Greenhurst Elementary. Taught there for a year, right after I had my first son, my first child. And I did that because I could teach year round, and it was perfect for having a brand new baby. And then Boise School District came over and begged and pleaded for me to go to Boise. And so I did. And I taught in Boise for the rest of my teaching career. And I loved it. Taught primarily junior high math, and I coached volleyball and basketball, and I loved it. And that's where I finished up my teaching. Had two more kids, another son, and then finally got my girl. And 2012 was the last year I finished teaching. My husband was in the Air Force, and he works for the government and travels a lot. And so it's just good for me to be home with them and homeschooling. And then 2021, we're right in the middle of the best years of our lives.
Yeah, right. We're all under Fauciism. Yeah.
Right. And I didn't think, none of us thought, right, that we would ever see anything like that. In hindsight,
Right.
2020, looking back, I think we probably all would do things a lot different, knowing then what we know now. But I didn't think that things were as bad as they really were. And so my daughter was in 6th grade, and she wanted to go back to school. And we'd been homeschooling her for a couple of years because she had some extreme disabilities with her eyes. She was double-sided, really bad.
Wait, excuse me, double-sided? So like seeing everything double?
Right. And so
that's wow. Okay.
Yeah, really bad.
I've never really heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, we hadn't either. And so since kindergarten, I used everything I'd ever learned in education. And we don't talk about this very much, but it's important. So I learned everything I'd ever learned in education and tried to help her. And we thought that she was just really needed, they kept telling us she needed to be in an extended resource room, is what they call it. And they said she's in the 5th or 6th percentile and she'd never learn anything. And I had to advocate for her because I said, you just talk to her. She's smart. She's brilliant. And they said, oh no, she'll never learn anything. So we fought and fought and fought for her. And in 4th grade, she was at Nampa Christian. She had a fantastic teacher. And it just so happened that a parent across the hall from our classroom said, have you ever had her eyes checked? And I said, yes, every year. I'd done everything that I knew to do as an educator. And she said, you need to have them checked again. Take her to a specialist. So I took her to the specialist right away. And he said, she's double-sided. So he showed us a picture of, I just so happen to have my candy bars. This will be a great visual. Campaign candy bars. So 2 teddy bears. And he showed us these, and he put them 10 centimeters apart. And I guess it's the most extreme that you can be double-sided. And he said, you only see it in like stroke victims or soldiers that come back that have been like in an IED, like a bomb attack. So here we are, and he said, he tried to get us to think of ways that this could have happened to her. We had no idea, obviously. And so we figured when she was young, she had to fall off monkey bars or something at school. We didn't know.
Right.
And we weren't upset with the school. We weren't upset with the daycare. Nobody knew.
Sure.
And so it took 2 years of therapy, extensive, 6 different therapies, 6 days a week. And we finally had gotten her to where she still had struggles, but she is always going to have some difficulties. But she wants to go back to school. And it's in the middle of this pandemic, right? So we let her go back to school, and they barely get there, and they send us all home. Really, I thought, well, this is fantastic, really, for her, because she gets to do school, but she's at home, and I can help her through this. Well, little do I know, I'm going to do most of the instruction because she has these teachers, just a couple, most of them were great. And I want to really clarify that because we do have the majority of our educators that are fantastic. And the years I taught with some really great educators. But she did have a couple that would get the kids started on their laptops, and they would leave. They would just be gone. And so her math class, primarily, I would teach a lot of the days when they were online.
Did you get paid for that?
No.
Okay.
It's really funny. One day when she was first starting out online, For 6 days, she was registered as an English teacher. It's
Wow.
great. She
Yeah,
couldn't learn anything.
right.
She couldn't register for classes,
Amazing.
and I couldn't get any help. And so finally, I said to the district, "Send her a paycheck. If you're not going to fix this for us, send her a paycheck." They fixed it right away.
Oh, sure, of course.
But anyway, so I'm squirreling. But anyway, so she gets back to school finally, and in Nampa they were going half the kids one day, the other half another day, and of course they're all like this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is my favorite. So why in the world we let them do that, I don't know, but we did. We all did, right? So they're back, and they're not back for very long. But she goes, and this group of girls is spitting on her backpack and harassing her, spitting on all of her things. She has a panic attack, gets sent to the office. The school doesn't inform us. She's home for a day. She goes back the next day, her A and B days. Goes back to school the next day. The same group of girls throws rocks at her, tears up her clothes because she falls, comes back. We're not informed. Goes back her second day, gets beat up, attacked by these kids. 10:30 in the morning, no contact from the school, comes home. And of course, I see that she's been beaten up.
Right. Absolutely. Heartbreaking for any parent.
Right. And so here we are, right? And that's the beginning of the rest of my life. And so when they say pick your hill, that's when I decided this is the hill that I was the rest of my life. I told my husband, just know this is the rest of my life. I will advocate for children forever. And so I contacted the school, and they said to me, if your daughter was nicer to those types of girls, this would not have happened to her.
What does those types of girls mean? Is that a racist thing? Is that a appease the bully thing? Is that, what is that?
It means your daughter's white and they're not.
Oh.
Yeah. That didn't go over very well.
Oh, that's right.
Second comment was, the kids are all masks, ma'am. We can't tell who's who. Give us a break. It's a COVID year.
Did they really say that?
Yes.
Okay, come on.
So that's when the teacher in me came out, because it wasn't about my daughter anymore. It was about the safety of all the kids. And so that's when I requested a meeting with the school and the administration, the counselors, and I wanted to know what they were doing to keep the kids safe. And so that's when it became not just about my family. And that's when I found out that the incoming sixth graders had not been receiving help for where do you go to keep safe? Where do we go if we need help? Where do we go if we're in danger? And over the next few weeks, things progressed, and we found out more and more of what had happened. And we found out the kids were being locked outside during lunchtime. We found out there were safety issues. And in 18 days, a group of us moms got together and we unmasked the district, meaning masks were optional.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's hundreds
unmask
and
everything. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
That was a big deal.
Oh,
and
sure.
So from that, this parents group began, and, opportunities for talking on the Capitol steps. And that's why I met the former lieutenant governor. And then I began meeting other leaders and getting more involved, and then started writing legislation and getting more interested in policy and what do our laws look like and what rights do parents have, and just got more and more into helping parents. And as I would watch more parents just devastated, crying over what was happening to their children, and ended up at more funerals of kids committing suicide, I knew I had to stay in this fight. And so that's what I've been doing. And I've had parents been pleading with me for years to step up and run. And I've kept saying, I don't need to do that. We have people in there that are doing a good job. They're standing up and doing a good job. And over these last two sessions, and this last one especially, I have been there day in and day out. And this last one just was it. They say the straw that broke the camel's back.
let's key in on that for just a second, because the idea. Thank you for the background. I want to key on your policy positions. We all have, as conservatives, we have lots of opinions on what was the worst failure of the 2023 session. It was a disaster if you were thinking about it in terms of what could have gotten done for a conservative limited government agenda and what actually happened. So let me ask you, what was the biggest failure or biggest disappointment in your mind of the 2023 session?
I pick one.
I mean, if you want to go into three, like top three would be good, but like I want to know. I mean, what's your? Let's start with number one, and then we'll dive into a few more, because I have thoughts too.
It's hard. It'll probably surprise you, because if I tell you the biggest failure of the session, it's not going to be legislation, because to me, I can almost tell you the exact day, not date. I can tell you the exact day when I was sitting in a committee room, and I have learned that you're very careful about the names you use for decorum. But I was sitting in a committee room that got to be so difficult for me to enter that room every day that I'd have to prepare myself every morning before I would walk in. So there's a hint. Every morning before I walk into this committee.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yes. And I only missed it just a couple of times, but I confronted, without being too revealing here, I did confront the chairperson, and the reason why, and I made it very clear. I said, this is not about the bills. It's not about we're not talking legislation. We're not talking about votes. It's about the people. And it's about our community that I feel is being silenced. And that's really why I'm so passionate about running, because I feel like there are so many people. I mean, my kids have had 12 friends commit suicide since the pandemic started. 12. And you go to a funeral and you watch a mom whose son has just committed suicide, 14 years old, and you sit with them and you take phone calls from them. And that is, I mean, enough is enough already. And then you listen to a legislator that is very, well, I would just handle things much differently.
So I want
to the community.
I want to dig in on this real quick, because I know which committee you're talking about, but I'm curious because, and this is where we get into, who are you? Is there a reason you're protecting this lawmaker, or not saying this lawmaker's name? Because this lawmaker deserves to never be reelected ever again in the history of anything ever. Not elected to dog catcher, not elected to babysit my kids. Why are you reticent to say the name of the lawmaker?
Well, I am very careful about, I know that we have another session, for number one.
Right.
For number two, I am very careful about separating people from issues. And I know some people don't appreciate that about me, but it is very important to me. I know that the end goal for me, my end goal, is doing what's best for children. My end goal is leaving Idaho and my community a better place for children. Because what's our purpose if that's not what we're here for? And to do that, we have got to be able to work together. And me throwing verbal bombs, I've got to be careful. I don't want to be in
basically
trouble.
Doing what Dustin does. Just say that.
No, but you know what I mean.
I know. I get it, because I do it.
I need to be able to work with people. And
sure.
And me throwing verbal bombs is not going to make that happen.
Right.
And so if I do that, going down to the Capitol and trying to do good things for my community, for my constituents, for families, for children, is not going to happen. And you know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
And so I want to be respectful. I do.
Okay.
And my grandmother taught me that. She was 102, bless her heart, when she passed away.
For sure.
And that's just who I am. And that does not mean that I have not confronted these people. That does not mean that I have not respectfully and firmly told them how I feel. But it's not in my nature to handle things that way, because my goal is to stand and do what's best, and I want to leave this place better for children.
Well, and
And
part of
that's
part
not
of
going to help me.
part of politics is how you get stuff done, right? Because if you're sitting there throwing bombs on the sidelines, that's one style of politics, and it certainly works in Congress. I mean, AOC is hella good at that. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene on our side. So there is some merit. I was just very curious. I want to dig in on an issue though that I know is near and dear to your heart. But this is where I saw the biggest failure in the legislative session was, okay, so we saw the failures, excuse me, it was a long day, the failures of public schools during COVID. We now see that public schools are as young as like first grade, second grade, talking about gender identity and gender fluidity. There was a district up in Coeur d'Alene that helped transition a girl to a boy without telling the parents. There are classrooms where pride flags are displayed, where just all this woke bullshit, excuse my language, but Greg's not here to monitor me, where all this woke bullshit is going on.
Right.
And yet our lawmakers, who are supposedly the most conservative in the country, which is not true, couldn't get education choice through, which would allow kids to leave these woke schools and get better educations. Where did you fall on that? Because it just seems like this fantastical opportunity that they just missed. What happened there? What would you do differently? What kind of bill do you want? Let's dive into the education choice thing for a minute.
Okay, good. So I can kind of bridge this from where we just were. So because I am not a bomb thrower, verbal bomb, let's clarify, that does not mean that I do not have a very strong, I'm solid in my grounding. And some people don't understand that. They don't think you can be kind but firm. And I am firm. And I don't bend. And one thing that is very concerning to me, and Brian Allman and I have talked about this quite often, and Senator Nichols and I as well, in an ESA, and having taught, I know this, and it's very important to me, and I will not compromise on this. And it's important to me that the public knows this. When we are looking at ESAs, we must make sure that students and parents understand when money follows the student, it is important. So let's say a parent, let's just pick a number to make it easy. Let's say $5,000. Sure. Let's say we have an ESA and $5,000 goes with a student. I cannot vote for that if we do not make sure that student, I've told Brian Allman, that bill has got to have that student to where they can have the funds and it's very important, special ed services still at our public schools, because I want to make sure that those students receive the services that they need. And they should still be able to have those services. And I know that there's been some questions in other states where that has not been the case. And I don't know that we're communicating well enough to our public, to our constituents, and letting them know that there's so much money still being left behind in the bills that we've been talking about.
Right.
And we need to communicate that well. So at 1038, Senate Bill 1038, the ESA bill from last year that didn't pass, there was a lot of money being left with our public schools still.
Tons. Gobs of money, buckets, most of it, quite frankly, most of it.
Depending on the school district, because every school district's a little different.
Oh, sure.
But when I was talking with Fred from IFF, some of those school districts, the minimum, I think, for the school district, and don't quote me, but it was 5,000 to, I think he said 11,000. And that's conservative, but correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a lot per student, at least. Right. And there was one school district that was getting over 20,000 a student, right? I can't remember which one. We'll have to ask Fred. But those schools are getting plenty of money to still support students for special ed services. And that is really important to me. And so school choice, yes. And so, but I would...
Wait a second. Hang on. I want to be 100% clear, because I got into, let me shield an official for a minute.
Go.
I got into a bomb throwing match with a certain education official who said eventually that Idaho has enough school choice because you can homeschool your kids, pay for it yourself, homeschool your kids. You can go to charter school, you can go to private school if you pay for it yourself. You can go to any school that you want inside the state. We have school choice. So I want to know, what's your actual definition of school choice? Can the dollar follow my kids into our pockets, meaning we buy curriculum with it? Can it follow to private schools? Can it go to pods? Can it go to my unschool? Whatever. Like, what is it? Tell me your definition, because it needs to be crystal clear.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Amazing. I love it. That's clear.
Yes.
That's very clear.
Here's what I want to make
With your caveat.
Clear. If we have an ESA bill that says the students cannot receive special ed services or cannot participate in basketball or music or theater at our public schools, I cannot support that, because that to me discriminates with those kids, because there's plenty of money left with our public schools. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think it's actually pretty simple. It's like, okay, if something works for me, it's like how I buy my products. I went to Winco tonight to buy some products. Okay, cool. Got those at Winco. I got some products at Walmart. I got another product at Fred Meyer tonight. I spent a lot of money on gas running around for stuff. The education is the same thing. If homeschool works for some subjects, that's great. If a blended hybrid model, okay, let's put some money there. If we need public school for some things, absolutely do it. And I don't see, like, everybody says, oh, well, that's really hard to do. The market's figured it out.
Right.
The schools need to figure it out too. But why is this so hard? Why is it so
difficult? I'll tell you. So Nampa School Board the other night, and Trustee Marco Valier at the Nampa School District, he was so frustrated. I felt so sorry for him, because he wanted to stop the raise for the administrators, superintendents, because it was so big. I think it was 6, 7, 8%. It might have been higher. Right. And he was frustrated. He wanted to go about 3%, it sounded like to me. And it was too late. He missed it. There was some misunderstanding in how the agenda was written. And so there was some misunderstanding in the vote. And he was really frustrated. He thought it was too high for where we're at right now in our community. And I tend to agree with him. Again, please don't misunderstand me. I am a hair bit frustrated, because I feel like the way there's so much money put in the education budget, so much appropriated in this last legislative session for education. Where's the money going? It's not that I don't want our teachers to be paid. I do. And trust me, let me clarify. I don't think that our teachers are overpaid. I don't. They work their tails off. I know how hard they work. I know firsthand how hard they work. I'm not sure the money is getting to the teachers.
Well, and I want to be clear about this, and I think you would probably agree with where I'm going with this. There are some teachers who are underpaid.
That's right.
There are some teachers who are absolutely overpaid. But I don't think, and maybe you can teach me, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think that our system is built to reward the best teachers with the raises that they deserve. If it's me, if it's my system, I want a teacher who is actually worth $100,000 a year teaching my kids.
Right.
I want to be able to find them and reward them. But I don't think that's the system we have now. Am I wrong? Tell me about that.
No, you're right. And the scary thing about that, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm going to get myself in trouble with some union members, but here's all honesty.
Good.
Listen, though, here's the other thing. I know some really good teachers. Some of my best friends were in the union. And they just tell you when you get out of college that you have to belong to the union. It's the only way to have insurance.
Right.
And we have got to change that mentality. So let me say that.
Yeah.
So don't judge it. Don't judge a teacher by the cover, please. We need to judge them by their fruits, honestly.
Right.
But here's what happens. And merit pay really scared me. And I did not plan on talking about this at all, but since we are, here we go.
We're here now.
That's right. So merit pay really scared me as an educator. And the reason why, it's not because I didn't have great scores. I had some of the best scores in the district. teacher of the year. I mean, so it didn't scare me that way. What scared me was who's deciding your merit,
That's part of
because
it.
the unions would bully you if you didn't do what they wanted you to do.
Right.
So you saw who the teacher of the year was last year in Idaho.
I'm not that plugged in anymore.
You should check that out.
Tell me.
Is that your merit?
I don't know. Tell me what you're saying right now, because I can't read between the lines.
Well, woke would be your merit pay.
Okay.
So that's horrifying to me.
Right.
I mean, so is social emotional learning and SEL and queer theory your merit? How who's deciding that? That
you
scares
think
me.
that there would be some I mean, obviously there has to be some discretion because there's always that human element, but do you think that state lawmakers would set some sort of metric or thing that says you're to be judged on, you know, how your students perform, how you interact with parents, how you customer service skills, not how woke you are? Like, is that not a thing?
Well, I don't know, because then we have more testing, we have more data, we have more government.
Interesting. Can we
I
just
don't
end?
know.
Okay. Interesting.
We need to have the discussion. We do.
Yeah.
I just know I've been on the other end, and we need to be very careful, because I know that when I didn't follow what the merit was, I lost my special pay. I would lose my teaching assignments, and you were punished. There was retaliation.
I want to ask just one or two more education questions, then we got to move on to some other policies, because I mean,
I mean,
education is a
yeah. Let's move on
monstrosity.
before I get myself in trouble, please.
Well, there's one more question. I'm not a fan of public schools in any way, shape, or form, because I see the test scores, I see the results. We're not ready to blow them up and end them right now. Hopefully we will be in 20, 30 years, hopefully sooner than that. But a lot of conservatives contend that they're simply indoctrination factories, and that I don't know if there's a grand conspiracy, but it's just the natural evolution of a government program to trend the way that they're trending right now. Are government schools indoctrination programs, or is it, I mean, where are you at on that? Because like I'm worried. Like if they're talking about, you know, gender identity and fluidity with 1-year-olds, it's like, or first graders, excuse me, there's something going on, and I don't know that it's coordinated, but it just seems to be happening. Like, what the hell is going on?
Dustin, I've known you too long. I'm supposed to be here picking up votes, not losing votes.
I'm just asking the question. You can tell me no. I don't
know, right?
That's a genuine question. I don't know what the hell is going on in our
so
schools.
Much trouble. I can just hear people in the background now what they're saying.
I don't know who those people
"Hey,
are.
Don't say it." That's what they're saying.
I don't know. That's not a setup. That's literally like,
you know, where my children are, right?
I don't know. Where are they?
They're not in public school.
Oh, okay.
But let me tell you.
But that's okay, because here's the thing.
Very good teachers in public school.
I agree with you. 100% agree with you. There are very good, but that's the thing, is like,
there are some very good doctors. There are some very good attorneys.
Agree. And that's the thing, is like,
but I will tell you what I tell everybody.
Okay.
And I'm going to be in so much trouble for saying this.
No, you won't. We're just having a discussion. We're Joe Rogan.
I know.
Cheap Joe Rogan.
I am who I am, and you know that. And so I'm just going to be true to myself.
I hope so.
I tell everybody, and I've not been a candidate before, so this is not candidate talk, but this is just who I am. And I promise I'm going to stay who I am. So here we go. I tell people, if you put your children, I'm going to be in so much.
Do it. Say the truth. But if you can't, that's what's wrong with politics.
I
don't care. I don't care your position. You could be a flaming communist, which you're not. You could be a conservative. Tell me who you actually are, because that's the main problem in politics today.
I know. Here we go. Okay.
Say it. Be brave.
Listen,
you've got
kids
this.
Are minors. They are not. I've had Christians tell me, I have my kids in public school to be the light and to make a difference. Listen, kids are not designed for that. It is our job to protect them. So if you cannot guarantee that every single adult in your child's school is 100% safe, can you really guarantee that they are not being taught what the United Nations agenda is designed to teach our children? Because
It's okay.
let me tell you, I never say, and I will promise you this, you are not going to hear me say that something is in our schools if I have not researched it. And I have heard the incumbent say many times, somebody told me, they told me, that lobbyist told me, yada, yada, you get my drift?
Yeah.
You will not hear me say that. If
Right.
I tell you that something is in a school, I pulled the public records. Somebody may have given me the public records, but I have seen it with my own eyes. I know that it is there. And I know that it is there. So if you cannot guarantee that you know every single adult and that no other adult is going to touch your child during the school day, and I don't mean physically, but I mean have an influence on your child,
Yeah. Yeah.
then why in
It's sad
the
that you need to
world?
clarify that, by the way. You absolutely need to clarify that, and that's okay. But that's the
Yes.
state we're in. That's the point.
Why in the world would you want them there? Listen, I just sat in a Nampa school district board meeting the other day, and I'm so proud of some of our trustees, the majority of our trustees. The fact that I have to say that should mean something. But stand up and say, I mean, all you have to do is listen to that Nampa school board meeting. And in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, I wrote it in my notes. Why would you put your kid? Why?
Agree.
Our board trustee said, it is not the teacher's job to teach children core values. It is not. They are. Not all of them, but some of them. Do you want to risk that?
Exactly.
Do you want to risk it? Because once they do it, can you pull it back? It's not a risk I'm going to take.
Yep. And
That is why I am running for office. It's one of the major reasons I'm running for office. We are losing our children.
And that's the thing. And I want to be very clear about this. If it were up to me, we would end public schools in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. But not everybody's the extremist that I am.
Right.
Our argument, the argument that I'm comfortable with is, okay, you want to keep public schools? That's fine. Maybe it works for you. Maybe you need a babysitter, or maybe you just that your kid learns best that way. That's fine. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my family. Stop making us pay for it. Let us take our education dollars elsewhere, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that hard. It really isn't, because if public schools work for you, let them work for you. It's like Walmart, Winco, and Fred Meyer. Whatever works for you, use it. Okay, we've got to move on.
I know, but you have to let me.
Okay, last one.
And then we'll move on, please. I do not want to end public schools. Here's why.
That's fine.
I taught a young man. I won't use his name because we'll just call him John. I had him in 7th and 8th grade. His mother loved him dearly. She was not in a position to take him out of school. You could have given her $10,000. She would not have known what to do with it or how to do that. She just couldn't. She actually signed him over to me one night so he did not have to go into foster care. So he came and stayed with our family, had dinner, did his homework with my kids. I love that kid. We teachers helped get him shoes, clothes, etc.
Right.
Public schools have to stay open for kids like that. We have got to do a better job with our public schools for kids like that. There are kids that are never going to leave our public schools. That is why we have got to clean them up. We cannot give up on them. And there are a lot of teachers that are staying there, and they tell me we are staying so that we can be the light in the darkness for kids like that. And we cannot give up on them, and that is why.
See, and that's where I'm at, which is the libertarian in me says, okay, I'd love to end schools tomorrow, but it's just not, the public isn't ready for that. Just like the public's not ready for some other discussions, and that's okay. I think conservative progress is, okay, education choice. So we can save the kids that want to be saved that way, so they aren't indoctrinated or at least corrupted by what I would say is probably evil influences, to use that word.
No, okay. I love our public schools. They're great. They do a great job with our sports. They do a great job with our career technical. They do a great job. with our special ed programs. They do a great job with kids like I'm talking about. We do have great teachers. There are a lot of great things about them, but we do need to take out the bad.
Yeah.
And
And
I mean nicely, peacefully take out the bad. Okay, we got to move on.
let's move on. Thank you for that. That was a really good discussion. Thank you
Yeah.
for talking, because if you know the budget, and I bet you do, education is more than half of our general fund budget. It's a huge expense, but it's not the only thing state government does, right? So let's
Right.
talk about taxes. Your
Please.
opponent has some interesting ideas on taxes. What are your ideas on taxes? Because Idaho isn't actually all that good on tax policy. In fact, it's kind of bad because we use all three legs of the stool: sales, income, and property taxes. What would you want to do on taxes?
Okay, property taxes, so bad, so bad. But you know as well as I do that the state, you're with me, right?
I'm with you.
Just
My wife just sent me a message, so I'm sorry. She
No, that's okay.
Our 4-year-old does not sleep at night, and so it's a thing. It's
Oh.
we commiserate together. I'm sorry about that, but I'm
No,
with you.
you're
Taxes.
fine. It's the teacher in me. I'm just making sure you're paying attention.
Much like my teachers in school. Anyway, go
That's
ahead.
right.
ADHD gets me.
See?
Anyway, go
That's public school teaching. Not so bad.
ahead.
No, property taxes. Mine are horrible.
Okay.
Canyon County property taxes are so bad. My constituents, you hear that? My constituents, that's positive thinking, are hurting. I know that. I will also tell you, I know now because at the beginning of June, hopefully property tax assessments, everybody should have received the phone numbers, the dates, when your local meetings are going to be, because the state wants you to be aware of when those meetings are, because local government matters for our property taxes, right?
Yes,
It matters.
100%. 100%.
The state gives money back to our local government. Yes.
Yes.
Where's that go? Because we're not getting it back. Trust me, mine are going up, up, up.
Well, and even the yes, they do subsidize through a number of things. And there was a bill to take money from the general fund and give it straight to taxpayers, which I think will probably come in December. I don't know the exacts of the bill, but there's no incentive for, and this is what Steve and I talked about last week, there's no incentive for government to actually stop spending if we're doing that.
Right.
And your challenge is, or your charge to people is, go show up at these meetings. But like, I'm not going to go to the mosquito abatement district meeting. I'm not going to go to, like, you could spend your life doing property tax hearings and have zero effect.
Right.
None.
So
what's the answer
are
there?
you
Because
going to be surprised to hear that I'm already working on taxes? No.
I mean, no.
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 So I've already been talking with the speaker about this. I knew that you would probably ask me how I was going to get along with the speaker.
What gave you that idea?
Because I pay attention. Always listening. Anyway, I've already been talking to the speaker about this because I know that those three taxes are going to be very important. I do know, however, that property taxes are probably realistically going to be the least reachable at the state level.
Right.
So sales tax, income tax. Now, Idaho income tax, high, the highest. And so the speaker and I had a couple of chats about that this week.
I'm impressed. That's yes. Okay.
He
let me
is
ask
working.
you. Okay.
He's working on that. I was going to say as we speak, but it is a little late.
It is a little. He's probably in bed. He's a farmer type, and they go to bed early.
Right.
Okay, but
I can promise you that is something that I have already been working on.
Okay, good. I like to hear that. Let me ask you the one thing the speaker disagrees with me on. Not that I'm anybody of importance. Food tax, the tax on food. He absolutely wants to keep the tax on food because he wants to get those dirty out-of-staters who come here and eat it, or get their groceries at Albertsons and then take them to their VRBO, right? Like, he wants to import that money. I contend that taxing food for anybody is immoral and we don't need it. Where are you at on the sales tax on food?
I think that I have seen legislators that have been, I'm choosing my words wisely.
I can tell
Right?
you got this like pondering face. It's good. Oh my
Don't
goodness.
you think some legislators that maybe are moving a little more, oh, they're starting to be a little more team players in this area, I think. They're thinking about it.
I think I've seen movement where people don't care about it as much because they see, obviously the income tax has come down. The property tax handout to homeowners, which I still have issues with, has been handed out. They got rebate checks from Stimmies. I mean,
I
it's
don't
a
know
thing.
though. I think people are talking about working on these things a little bit more. That's the not the mood. It seems to be a little bit, well, maybe there's a little mood up there. When I say up there, I mean the Capitol. I really do see some movement.
Okay. What type of, what do you
Positive
mean? What do you
positive
mean by
movement.
movement?
Well, there's been no discussion, you know that, for the last few years on sales tax.
I do know that. Yes.
At all. Other
Yes.
than one representative we know really trying very hard. Bless him.
He has amazing glasses.
Yes, love him. But I just think that you can tell the trend that I think people are going to be a lot more willing to discuss it. We've
Good.
been discussing it this week, actually.
Good. I think, I understand the idea of generating income taxes or sales taxes from people who visit. I get it, but I also contend that they'll still spend their money elsewhere on trinkets and gas or whatever. Like, okay, cool. I just think that, I don't know. We've seen huge inflation with food prices, and because of the egg thing. Like, eggs were like $21, and so that makes the problem even worse. And this is an issue where Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Constitutionalists largely have agreed at one time or the other. I mean, for hell's sake, California doesn't even tax food, and we do. So,
and how much has your grocery bill gone up?
Oh my gosh! So with 3 kids, and one of them is a tween. Oh my gosh! Like,
yes,
I'm thinking about selling a kidney. So,
well, imagine if all your kids were teenagers.
Oh, I agree. But that's the thing. It's like, I don't need that money at the time that we get a tax rebate. I need it now at the register. And yeah, it's only a couple bucks, but if you know a family, if you've ever had kids, if you've ever had a family, you know that a couple bucks can mean the difference between putting your kids in sports and not.
Well, and I worry about seniors. Fixed income seniors, their prescriptions. I mean, and our Medicaid's out of control. It's more than
talk about
double
that for a second.
What they told us it was going to be.
Let's talk about that for a second. Okay, Medicaid. So for those who aren't well versed in these things, Medicaid was supposed to help the most vulnerable among us, typically kids, pregnant people, disabled people. It has since been expanded thanks to COVID and thanks to Luke Mayville, who runs this freaking state at times. And now adults who are able-bodied but somewhat low income now get free healthcare thanks to the people who work. What's your take on Medicaid expansion? Because our conservative legislature has not found the spine to repeal it.
Well, it's time.
So wait, let me be clear about this. Are you in support of full Medicaid expansion repeal?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yes. Okay, so we are over what it was supposed to. They promised us what, 45?
It wasn't a lot. I mean, and all the free money was supposed to come back or whatever. It was crazy.
It's more than doubled. It's over 100. Where's Fred when I need him? Right?
Yeah, right.
I know it's triple digits. It's over doubled what they said it would be, what they promised. Right. It's ridiculous. It never. Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And again, had a discussion with the speaker about this. Yes.
Okay. So if you have the chance, and you're elected, you win the what is now a 3-way primary between you, Steve, and Representative Roten. Do you bring legislation first year to repeal it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to do, you know me, I've brought legislation and I'm not even in office. So I don't know why I have to wait to be in office.
I haven't even done that, so good job.
Yeah. You don't have to be in office to bring
Right.
legislation.
That's true.
We need to let all the citizens know that.
Okay, cool. We're actually at 10 minutes or 1 hour almost. Actually, we've got about 10 minutes left. I forgot that we started late.
Okay.
What else? What
Do
else
we
is
have
on
to
your?
finish on time?
We don't. We can finish whenever we want, but
Okay.
I'm getting sleepy. So
Well, wake up.
Okay, so tell me what else you do. So repeal Medicaid, education choice. What else are you doing? Tax policy. What else is on your bucket list or your to-do list when you get to the Capitol?
Oh, what else? When I get to the Capitol this year, before I get to the Capitol,
I mean, when you're elected, if you're elected, I'll
Okay.
be specific.
I really would like to work on protecting kids with all this data collection. It concerns me a great deal.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons. I'm totally against red flag laws.
Okay, let's talk about that.
However,
Wait a second.
there's
Where's
no
this going?
howevers.
Where's
But
this
data
going?
collection, if we ever were to have red flag laws, which I pray we never do, this data collection on children is so bad. It's bad no matter what. But I really fear it.
For those who are not initiated in this, what kind of data is being collected and why and by whom?
What kind of data? Everything is being collected. I tell parents, I've told them for years, never sign an electronic handbook because it's a contract. Do the paper, do the paper handbooks, do everything paper. There's data on the beginning of the ISAT tests that is collecting all sorts of data on your family.
Right.
And that's why that data piece on the parental rights legislation that I just wrote and we passed and the governor signed was so important, because now they have to have parental consent. And the parents have to see the surveys. And we're seeing success with that legislation already. I'm so excited. That's a huge piece for me. Huge. Because they no longer can do that. They can't collect that sensitive data on our kids without parents approving.
Is there some workaround though? Because forgive me if I'm a little bit cynical, but I've seen too many. I don't want to put on my tinfoil hat here.
Come on.
But I've been doing government for long enough to know that they can go some end around to work with, the Google Chrome laptops, or they can read metadata somewhere or something. Like, are we 100% sure that that's a thing that the kids are protected? Because I'm very skeptical.
We're not 100% sure, but I am 100%. There's a private right of action on that bill. Okay. Which makes me very happy. I do want to bring more to that though, with some data protection. We want to add to that. Absolutely. Okay. So that's important. We also would like to add a piece. I don't know how much of this I want to bring to this, but I have some concerns about labeling. All of this labeling of parents that are speaking at school boards. It's very concerning to me. I don't want to find out that my name is on some list somewhere. So we'd like to do a little more protection in that area.
That's noble. I'm with you on that. That's one
I have
of the
a feeling
I
you and I might be on a top 10.
Well, definitely. If you aren't on a government list at this point, you're doing it wrong. But that government list should not exist. That's for darn sure. Okay. I'm being reminded by my co-host here.
Yes.
Initiatives. I contend that we need to repeal initiatives, as dirty as it sounds, because it's like, oh, you're taking power away from the people. No, we're taking the power away from Luke Mayville and labor union money. Like, where are you on initiatives?
Yes.
Repeal them? Okay.
Do you know, I was told McGrain at a meeting last week. I know I'm not supposed to say their name. I'm so sorry.
Secretary. Yeah, you slipped. You slipped.
Shoot. I'm trying. I'm learning. Okay. Bless him. He said, when I say bless him, that's nice. Southern is bless their little heart. That's not nice. I want to clarify. He told me at a meeting last week that it's only 20 signatures to start those initiatives. Is that true?
I don't know. Honestly, I do not know.
if that's the case, I need to clarify that.
I know he's very sharp, so it wouldn't
Right.
surprise me.
If that's the case, I mean, we will have initiatives going forever. I mean, you and I could go start an initiative tomorrow to stop every piece of legislation from here to, I don't know, Timbuktu. But this makes no sense to me.
Right.
Senator Zeiderfeld worked so hard to get that ranked choice voting protection for us.
So good.
All of our legislators that voted to pass that legislation, they represent us, the people. And that is how our government is designed to work. And now we have an initiative with 20 signatures. Please don't hold me to that number, but
Right.
that's what I believe he said. However many signatures, it was very few, that start this initiative process. And then once it starts, how he explained this to us was our AG then goes, and that's time and money, our money. Our AG then works for them and gives them an opinion. And this group, when I say them, that's who I'm referring to, they get an opinion from our AG, very expensive, lengthy
Right.
process.
Right.
They can take the opinion or not take the opinion and do whatever they choose to do with that opinion. And he said it's a 20-some page initiative. Well, then the AG will write whatever is going to be on our ballot in November if they decide to proceed, which he, the Secretary of State, is sure they will. And then they have to have how many, he wasn't sure, he couldn't remember, signatures,
Right.
a couple 100,000, he thought.
Yep.
To get rid of or add ranked choice voting and totally undo what we, the people's legislators, just did.
Right.
Well, that totally gets rid of the people's voice, which is one of the major reasons I am running. I'm tired of the people not having a voice. So of course, I think this initiative process is a disaster.
Good.
Not a very nice political way to say it. I'm so sorry. I'm working.
I don't-
working on it.
I don't want political speak on this podcast. In fact,
Okay,
if you try
good,
it, I'll
thanks.
blow you up. That's not a thing. Okay, I was thinking, not everybody can answer this question, but I think you can.
Okay.
There are 105 personalities and careers in the Idaho legislature right now. You've watched them very closely. You've talked to them. You've palled around with them. I don't know if that's the right term, but whose career do you want? Say you get elected. Whose career do you want to model yours after? Who do you think is a great legislator?
Oh, wow.
That's a good question. And I think you can answer that because you know them so well because you have spent a ton of time there. And there are some really good ones. I have an answer for myself, but I want to hear yours first.
Do you have an answer for me who you think I should model?
I can't know because I'll give you my answer for me, which is I'll give you my answer for me, and then that'll give you time to think about yours.
Okay, good.
My answer is it's either Brian Lenny or Scott Herndon, right? I love those two guys because I think, first of all, Scott got stuff done. He got bills passed this year. There are some folks who I love them, but they don't pass bills. And there is value in not passing bills. But I think that Scott got some pro-freedom bills across the finish line. That matters a lot. Scott, I think Brian Lenny, he didn't pass. I don't think he passed a bill.
He did.
Did he? I don't know. Like I feel like I should know.
Very early.
Oh,
you know how I know?
Yes, tell me.
He had copies of it everywhere.
That guy. But I think he serves also as a check against people who want to pull antics. The whole Jim Guthrie illegal immigration memorial thing. Brian Lenny was stopping that nonsense, and he served a role. Those two I really admire. It also turns out that they both have really great beards, which I don't. So I think maybe that plays into it. But I'm curious, who would you model your career after?
Oh, that's so hard because
it's a good question. There are lots of good people.
Well, and so I'm thinking of women, although there's some men that I really appreciate their character.
Right.
And how well they work with people. That's really important to me. And without revealing too much strategy, because strategy is so very important to me.
It is.
I have a math brain. And so.
Math brain. Sounds like a condition.
You can tell strategy is like. So, yeah. Anyway, but I'm thinking women, right? And so like there's 4 or 5, 6, and I keep thinking of different characteristics going through my head. But
Sure.
the very first person I thought of was Julianne Young. And I should say
I
Representative Young.
love
I'm sorry.
Julianne.
If I could be as well spoken as she is,
Right.
she's so eloquent, right?
Very.
Always. And she just says everything so well. If I
Yes.
could be like that she's just classy. I like that.
Oh man, she is a wonderful defender of liberty because she's right about a lot of things, most things that she writes about. But you'll get these like somebody will lob this like really dishonest attack at her, and she'll write this like 5-paragraph essay about how it's completely bogus and dishonest. And it's like you feel like warm and fuzzy after you write it or after you read it. You're like, did she just give me a hug? Like it's the most amazing thing. She's incredible.
I love it. Okay, but I
Yeah.
have to tell you a couple more. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. You know, I volunteered for Representative Judy Boyle all session.
Yeah.
And she is so grounded. Like she's just like fiercely grounded.
Yep.
And that I really appreciate. And her honesty, and you just always know where she stands. And I respect her so much. And she's just, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a pillar. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That I love because we don't have a lot of that at the Capitol. We don't have a lot of pillars.
I think this has been my experience, and I don't think that I'm wrong here, but again, everybody's different. Everybody has different experiences. You always know where you stand with Judy Boyle. Always. Like, she will tell you straight to your face if you're a piece of crap. Like, she'll tell you straight up. She's actually done it to me a few times. So I love me some Judy Boyle.
And I appreciate that because, you know, that's one of the most difficult things at the Capitol is it's really important to keep your compass. Right?
100%.
And that I really appreciate. Then, you know, we have a couple of new freshmen senators, and Glenita, and I'm so, you guys, here's how real I am. I'm just a person off the street, right? Such a mom. Glenita and Cindy, I'm so bad. Senator Zeiderfeld, Senator Carlson.
we're dude, here's the thing. We're in Idaho. Like, they're okay with it. I promise you.
Right? I know they are. They totally are. Because that's how I am at the Capitol. People would contact me from all over the state and they'd say, Amy, can I go into a committee room or do I need my legislator's permission? And that's what I've always been about. Just, I want people to learn and know. I always say, let's bring the people back to the people's house. We need them involved, right? We need to teach people how to be involved. Anyway, I love these two women. They are so real. They're so authentic. They're kind of like me. Like, I hope that's what I want to be like. And they just love people. And I want to be like that. And then I want to be liberty. Like I feel like Representative Scott is, you know?
Yeah. All good people. All good people.
Put them all in a bottle.
I will tell you, one of my favorite things is when they're in town and we can just talk to them, because it's so often you're around people who don't share your values, and those folks, like, they're good people, and that matters a lot to me. Your character matters.
I'm missing people. Like,
oh, there are tons.
Like Representative Ehard, and I mean, there's a million people I'm missing. They're all so great, and I have to tell you, Representative Crane has been one of my best mentors. And if you want to sit and watch a committee chairman run a good committee, that's about the best run committee in the Capitol.
There's some good people. There's some good people in the State House. Luckily, not enough, or not luckily, but sadly, not enough. So, okay.
I know you're going to wrap me up, but I have to tell you, for Greg.
Okay.
Greg, I know he's not on there, but I know he's probably listening somewhere or having a good time with his kids.
Yeah.
No infringement means no infringement.
So can I own a tank?
I will never, ever bend. There's nothing that will get me to bend on no infringement.
Good. Okay. There are 2 questions left. Two, and we're done.
Okay.
I asked Steve this. This one is really important to me because I've seen too many lawmakers fold. So same question I gave to Steve, and I'm going to ask every single candidate that comes on this show. Are you willing to trade votes to get your baby through if it means you cast a bad vote?
Well, I can actually answer this from experience.
Okay.
Because I've actually had my own bills killed because I won't do this. And it's not fun at all to watch it happen. So I had 2 bills killed and a concurrent resolution.
That's
So the
what
answer is no.
that's the answer I wanted, because I've seen too many people go in there, and I understand their intentions. They come from a good spot, which is, this thing that I have is so great, and if I just pass it and cast that bad vote that leadership wants me to cast, I will get this thing and everything will change, and then you get screwed.
And I didn't even have, it wasn't even that I could vote, because I couldn't vote.
Right.
They wanted something else from me that would have been much easier than a vote. And I don't compromise. And I know that some people are like, but you say you work with people. Well, yeah, I work with people. I'm nice. I like to be nice to people. I'm kind to people. But that
Right.
doesn't mean you bend.
Right.
That doesn't mean you compromise. You can be nice to people. You can be kind and still have a backbone.
Definitely. I don't know anything about that, but I know you do. So I'm not nice.
I'm
I'm
nice
not
to you.
You are. You're very nice to me.
Yeah.
But you're the nice person. I'm not. Okay. You have done us a huge favor by coming on the show. We appreciate your time. This was a good discussion about education, just about policy and stuff like that. So as your thank you, you get to give the pitch. Tell the voters why they should elect you and how they can find out more about you. I got to stop hitting my mic. Sorry, Brian.
What'd you do?
I hit my mic, and Brian got on me because he said, Brian Allman of IFF, he said, Dustin, stop hitting your mic. You're an idiot. And I said, I will work on that. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So why voters should vote for me? Is that what you're asking me?
Just, yeah. And how they can find out more about you. About 90 seconds.
Okay, perfect. Well, first off, I have been in leadership roles in my community, been running parents groups, been helping parents, moms, kids in the community for a few years now. Been at the Capitol, especially the last couple of sessions. I've had parents asking me to run, and I told them, as long as there were people in there doing a good job, I just didn't think that it was something that I needed to do. I thought I could do it from the outside, but I really do think, especially after this session, it's very apparent that we need a strong conservative in there that we can count on. And I believe I have that track record. I've worked hard on legislation. I've seen the legislation through. It's been very successful. We're seeing success already, even though it hasn't gone into effect yet. July 1, it goes into effect. We've seen the success in Idaho Falls with the superintendent telling Health and Welfare that they're not going to allow surveys anymore because the parents can sue with those surveys. And so we have 14,000 kids protected in Idaho Falls already, and we're seeing success here in the Valley. And so I have that proven track record, and I've shown that I can work with people here and help out our constituents. And so I just know that it's time for us to have a trusted source, a trusted person that's reachable, that is available to the community members. And so it's time for that. We can't, our community deserves better, much better. And so people can contact me. My number, my email, and everything is on my website at henry4idaho.com.
Okay. Amy Henry, a wonderful interview. Stick with us, viewers that are still here. Thank you so much, Amy. You're amazing. Appreciate your time. And I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. In fact, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a good talk. That was a really good talk. I love talking policy with people. Amy's been passionate. She's been around, and she knows her stuff. I would quibble with her, and I can say this now that she's offline. I don't love the style necessarily, but I understand where she's coming from on not naming a chairman who needs to be removed from office. We have two different styles, and my style is definitely unique. But I love the answer on education choice. It was a great answer, which is education choice. Yes. The gun answer was amazing. Not trading votes, amazing. So, it was a good interview, different styles, different people. And now the voters of District 13B have some evidence. Steve Tanner, Amy Henry. We're going to invite Kenny Roten. I don't know if he'll come on, but we're going to invite. And that's why we're doing these things. Amy, thank you so much again for coming on. That was a really good discussion. Now, before you leave tonight, a big deal. We're going to talk about this hopefully with a state senator on Sunday night because it's an urgent issue. I want everybody to go to idahosaa.org/news. Greg has written, he's not here, he didn't ask me to do this, but I want to rep his work. The Idaho Supreme Court gutted a portion of the Second Amendment in Idaho today. I don't understand all the ins and outs of it because I just haven't read up on it. Excuse me, it's late. But I know that Greg knows his stuff. He is the gun guy here in Idaho. He knows his stuff. There was a 5-0 ruling against preemption laws today, and that means that there are certain places that cities say that you can't carry your gun, which exposes you to violence, gun violence, quite frankly. So go to idahosaa.org/news and read up on that. Become a member of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance because nobody else is doing the work that Greg is doing. The NRA is not doing the work that Greg is doing to make sure that your gun rights are protected. And I hope we'll have a show on Sunday night to talk through this and what it means for you and your family and how to keep yourself safe. I'll let you know as soon as possible. Next week's show, we're lining up a candidate to talk with you. I'll let you know on social media. Make sure to follow Keep Idaho Free on Facebook. That's the channel that we're on, is the Keep Idaho Free Facebook channel. Follow Keep Idaho Free on Twitter. I think we're on it. We may not be on Instagram or Snapchat. I don't care. I don't want to be on some of those, quite frankly. Make sure to subscribe. We're also going to be on Rumble. We are on Rumble, and we're on Anchor and your favorite podcast platform. That was a lot, and I'm tired. It's time to go home. Thank you so much for joining Freedom Bros tonight. We'll have our other Freedom Bro home and with us next week, and hopefully we're providing some value. If you have any questions for us, if there's people you want us to interview, if there's concerns you have, policy topics you want us to touch on, please let us know, and we'll make sure to provide that value for you. Now, without further ado, we're going to play our cool intro outro thing, and then we're going to call it a night. Thank you for watching Freedom Bros.